I'm Jesse Rogers. I have the opportunity to speak with Nick Carpenter about his time serving in the National Guard.
So I joined the Guard in 2016. Prior to that, I served active duty from 2013 to 2016, stationed in Schofield Barracks, Hawaii.
What inspired you to join?
I'd always wanted to join the service. And then we found out we were having a baby, and I decided that delivering parts at Napa was not the way to raise kids. So ended up joining when we found out we were going to have a baby. Recruiting office, they were the only one that was open, and that's how it happened.
That's how it happens for a lot of guys, actually. That's what they all tell me. So tell me where all you were stationed.
So while active, it was just served there in Hawaii. Was my only duty station when I was active.
Did your wife go with you when you were in Hawaii?
Yeah, so it was tough. My oldest son was born while I was at basic training, and so that was kind of tough for her. First time mom, and I wasn't there. I got to meet him. He was about 4 months old the first time I met him. And then I came home after all the training. I came home for a few weeks, and then when I got to Hawaii, they had told me that they were gearing up for deployment. So if I didn't want my wife and new son to live alone on the island, to just leave them back home. So I went to Hawaii by myself, and then after about 2 months, the deployment got canceled, and so I spent the first 3 months in Hawaii alone. But then they were able to move out with me, and we lived out there. And my second son was born while we were out there.
Did you enjoy your time in Hawaii?
I did. Hawaii's a lot of fun, but growing up Southern Arizona, where you can drive and see forever, after about a year, I was ready to move home off the island. I got that island fever and felt like I was stuck. My MOS, I'm a 88 Mike, so I'm basically a truck driver and motor transport operator. But when I was stationed in Hawaii, we used a lot of PLSs and LHSs, which is like, it's a real big one. It's got either 3 axles in the rear, 2 or 3 axles in the rear, and 2 in the front. And it's got a big hook arm on it. It can pick up connexes and things like that. So while I was stationed there, we got to do a lot of, I was with a forward support company for an infantry unit. So somebody was always training. And so we got to drive out in the jungle with these big trucks and, drop these big flat racks full of ammunition. And then, you get the wonderful opportunity to unload it by hand after that, thousands of pounds, 80 pounds at a time. But it's cool just to see the capability of what it actually can do, and not just, running down the highway. Actually, it was fun to be able to get it out into the, to the jungle and the mud and the dirt and see what they're actually capable of. But it is fun. I do enjoy it. It's not the most glamorous job in the military. I know when I joined, it was one of the most necessary. We were still in Iraq and Afghanistan and all that stuff, and but I do enjoy it. It does take a certain level of experience to be efficient at and proficient at, and so I do enjoy it.
Have you had a lot of experience with humanitarian efforts in your area?
My company has been involved in the COVID mission, again, because it is a transportation company. A lot of guys were able to, it was a volunteer mission, but we're able to transport, food. They filled a lot of slots in food banks, and we're transporting food all over the West Coast. We had guys making regular trips to Northern California to take supplies and stuff. That was one thing that pushed me for National Guard versus reserves as well, was the local aspect, which I really enjoyed. The National Guard, the Army, was part of the community, right? There's when I first got there to that unit, a lot of local guys the community would use the armory for school events. And there was, banners on the wall from elementary, middle school, and high school kids in the area. And so that was really what I was looking for in the National Guard, was that sense of community. Like, it's great to serve on a national level, but for me, it's even better when it's the locals, right? And we would even go down there for the parades. We'd take a couple trucks down, and the local people loved it. And it's something that I don't know. That's what spoke to me, was that local aspect, the community part.
What do you think are some misconceptions about the military?
Oh, so civilian profession, I work law enforcement, and so I'm a firearms instructor in law enforcement, and I think one of the big misconceptions that is, if you've served in the military, you're automatically a weapons expert and a tactician, which is most certainly not the case. Just because that's the most prevalent in my civilian job right now, is that just because you're in the army or in the military, serve in the military, that you're not a weapons expert or a combatives expert or a tactician. You got a bare minimum training that the military provided you.
Would you have changed anything about your time in the service?
I recently signed another contract with the Guard. And before I signed that 6-year contract in the National Guard, I was looking at the Air National Guard. But I ended up staying, signing again with the National Guard to stay with the current unit I serve with, mostly because of the guys that I serve with. You build that bond with the guys that you serve with, and that you don't really find in many other places. So it ended up getting me to stay.
So will you be able to retire after the 20 years in the National Guard?
It's kind of a different system. It's built on points, and so days of service equal points, and so it won't be a full retirement like as if I were active duty, but I will have some benefits after 20 years of service. My plan right now is to continue until I'll have about 26 years of service when I retire. That'll put me right in line with my civilian job retirement.
What would you tell someone that's considering serving?
That it's absolutely worth it. Again, it's only 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks out of the year, but those 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks out of the year always falls on a birthday or a party or a wedding or a funeral, or it's always interfering with your personal life. But it's absolutely worth. One, of just from a benefit standpoint, for me especially, it's absolutely worth it for the benefits, but it's also worth it for me for the sense of pride of serving, and to get to say that you served. People respect it, and it is a big deal. Signing up knowing that you are going to miss out those things with the family, and that you may ultimately give your life for it, but it is absolutely worth it.